few weeks ago, we put out a video on helping new DMs prepare for their first game.
And in today's video, we're going to help you and assist on running that first game.
Welcome to the Blue Dragon Guild, a channel all about Dungeons and Dragons. I'm Baron.
And I'm Mackenzie.
As we said in the prep video, that first game is always a little daunting. Things are never going to go how you expect them to go, and hopefully some of these tips will help things run just a little smoother for you.
So when running your first game, especially if it's out of a book or if you just have all your notes written down, don't try to remember every single one of the notes, every part of the story. It's almost near impossible to happen. Think about, if you've read a book in your life, there's no way you're going to remember all 380 pages that you're going to tell me. It's going to be too hard. Just get those snidbits, those screenshots, that whatever of what you need for that part, what you feel you're going to make it to, and just run that to the 100% capacity you can.
Yeah, trying to force your brain to remember all that stuff, it's going to take your focus away from the actual game.
Mm-hmm.
And then that turns into a rough experience for you, and you may come away with a negative experience, and you don't want that. You want to have fun. When running the game, it's important to be flexible with your story. Your players are going to do things that you never thought would happen, and it's going to change things that you may have had planned or you may have thought should happen. Just roll with it. It's important to remember that the players are a huge part of the story, and the story essentially revolves around them.
Yeah.
So it's important to make them feel like they are a part of the story and that their actions have consequences in your world.
One thing that may help, don't force Lord of the Rings if your players want Mighty Python.
Yep.
Just give them what they want, a little bit of extent, but just make it work to the way they wish. And with saying that, it is okay still to say no to a player. As long as it fits the story, if it's not just to be, hey, I'm saying no to say no. As long as you can make it so it's justifiable, it makes sense, just don't always be a no, don't always be a yes. So keep the story as a flow to make it more enjoyable for you and for them.
Yeah, you got to have that leeway with characters, especially if they're new characters,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're a new DM. It's a give and take that is good to have on both sides. And if there's a situation that you are unsure on, let the dice decide. Impose advantage or impose disadvantage, and just let fate work it out.
As we stated in our prep video, if something comes up, we don't expect everybody to know every single rule in the entire book, but if it comes up, maybe make a quick, hey, this is how it's going to work this time, we'll look it up later, we'll look it up on a downtime, because if you take 10, 20, 30 minutes to look up certain things in the rules, you're going to take the players out of that world.
Yeah.
When you're at the table, whether on web chat, wherever you are, when you're starting to play the game, the last thing you want is to rip that part out of it, take the force back into, obviously, actually reality of not playing the game anymore, to take your players or yourself out of it, lose track, and you've wasted time.
Another important thing to remember is don't try and rush the story. Let things develop at a natural pace. Your players, let them lead into what is happening in the story. As we said in the prep video, have some encounters prepared. Just in case things go awry or something happens, say, okay, we've had a lot of RP. I'm going to throw this fight in there to kind of break things up. And one other thing, encourage roleplay in the middle of combat. It doesn't make sense for the characters to stop being who they are as soon as a fight breaks out.
Say your players have ended, the little part quests, small quests that they are, and they've spent time around in the city. They don't know where to go to next. It's never wrong to give them a nudge of, hey, this guy walks up and you hear in passing, oh, I heard there's been some thieves down by the bay. Maybe that will trigger something into their interest to go. Something to kind of help them along. I'm not saying pigeonhole them into it and this is their only path, but if they've been wandering and lost seeming, give them that little bit of a, hey, I think you should go this way.
Yeah, give them some options. One of the most important things when you're coming up with your story, start basic. Everybody wants awesome spells, awesome items, so on and so forth. One of the best things you can do as a DM is to show your players that even a simple pack of goblins can really mess them up. After a few levels of dealing with the goblins, they will really feel like their characters have grown and gotten stronger, and that'll show in the world.
And as referring back to the prep video, remember, not all encounters have to be combat encounters. This role-playing, maybe solving some puzzles, maybe just going to a certain place to return an item, can just be an encounter, a quest within itself. Another thing to do as a DM is also take notes. Knows what's going on, see what part they made it to, what they actually kind of changed. It's not just a player to take notes, to remember what happened in the story, what their character's doing, but also as a DM, what are all characters doing? Because there are a chance you may remember, and they might forget.
Yep, and vice versa. There's always going to be a player in your group that takes meticulous notes. And if you have trouble remembering to write stuff down, have a hard time taking notes, get with that player and say, hey man, can you be my scribe for this? I'm not the best note taker, so after the game, if you can just send me a picture of what all you have written down, that would be awesome. That'll help you, and it'll help that player, as a player, feel important to the game. This next one is probably one of the hardest ones. Ask your players for constructive criticism. Be honest with them. Be humble. For you, this is going to be a learning experience, and you want your players to have the best game that they are playing, and as a DM, you want to have the best game that you are playing.
In doing so, this will help strengthen your group as a whole. You'll feel, what they may enjoy a little bit more, what you could do to make it better for them, or what they could do to maybe help you in your story writing. You may have something prepared, and they may just be missing the point to get it to that, and you may be missing the point to have them have an enjoyable time.
And the absolute most important tip that you will ever need in any of your D&D, always remember to have fun. It's the most important part.
Because remember, you can't spell D&D without fun. And maybe a few other letters.
First of all, I want to give a huge shout out to everybody who responded to our tweet on Twitter asking for your favorite prep advice, your running the game advice. All of it really helped to make this video possible.
And in the comments below, be sure to tell us about the first game you ever ran.
Did your whole party die? Did they live? We'd love to hear about it.
And if you'd like to see more D&D content, be sure to subscribe.
And if you want to see our video about preparing for your first game, check it out right here. And until next time, keep the dice rolling.